Hello, my name's Tim Shoebridge. I'm very pleased to be able to announce my latest user oscillator for this synthesizer here, the Korg Minilogue XD. It'll also work with the Korg Prologue and the NTS-1. The oscillator is called Beats, and this is an example of what it sounds like. So that's an example of the kinds of sounds that you can get out of this user oscillator. I've got a few more examples and I'll play those to you kind of interspersed throughout this video. But what I thought I'd do next is look at the oscillator in a little bit more detail. What is it? What are the sounds that are inside it? And how do you configure it? So that's what's coming up next. Okay, so this is Beats. It's basically a collection of beat-making sounds, percussive sounds, drum sounds, that kind of thing. There's 28 of them in total, and 7 of them have a second variation, and I'll talk about that second variation in a minute. But first of all, I think it's best if I just go through and I play you each of the sounds individually so you can hear them. They're spread across the keyboard, a little bit like a general MIDI drum map kind of approach. So here's what the sounds sound like. So that's the 28. Now in terms of the variation that I mentioned, I've taken the hi-hats, and there's 2 of them, and I've taken the snares, and there's 5 of them, and I've provided them as a variation up here, and it's a variation that repeats. So if I just give you some examples. Now how fast they're repeating is controlled by the shape control. There are basically 4 settings. So at its lowest setting, with the shape being 0, this is the slowest. And as I turn it around, as you can hear, each time it doubles in speed. Now the lowest speed is set by a clock. I don't have access in my user oscillator to the global tempo of the synth, so I have to have my own tempo. So I have a beats per minute setting, and that setting is accessed by pressing the shift button and the shape control. So when the shape control is at 0, the beats per minute is 60 beats per minute, which is why when I play this, it's 1 a second. But with every percent that you turn the shape control, it's going up by a beat per minute. So at 100, which is maximum, you've got 160 beats per minute. And remember, that's at the lowest setting. So as I mentioned before, the layout is kind of like general MIDI drum maps. That means that you've got hi-hats and other instruments kind of in pairs. So here we have a hi-hat closed and open, and another one here. Up here we've got triangle. We've got some tonal instruments grouped together, so we've got some toms here and some other kind of tonal instruments here. So the layout is hopefully fairly logical or fairly easy to get to grips with. Right, so in terms of the parameters that you can set for the user oscillator, we've already covered the shape control and the shift shape for the speed of the repeats. Now, I know it would be really nice to be able to have a lot of control over the sounds, to be able to set levels individually and manipulate the sounds individually. That's just not possible with a user oscillator on this synthesizer. We just have 6 parameters to play with here. So what I've decided to do is to group the sounds together. So all of the snares, all of the kicks, and then with the rest of the sounds, split them between tonal ones and non-tonal ones. And I've given you sort of like a gain control for each of those groups. So by default, everything's playing at maximum value. But if we go into Program Edit and look at the first parameter, it's called Kick GR, and GR stands for Gain Reduction. So everything's playing at maximum value by default, but you can turn down the value, turn down the gain of the kicks. Like that. So all the kicks are affected by that one single value. Next parameter is snare GR. Again, you can turn down the snares. And then with everything else that's left, we have a tonal gain reduction. So that's the toms, these tonal sounds here, the triangles, that sound. Those sounds are all affected by this particular parameter. And then the non-tonal ones, the percussive kind of sounds, the claps and the hi-hats, they are all affected by this parameter here. So you've got some level of control of sort of like setting the gains relatively from one instrument group to another. Now that's taken up 4 of the 6 parameters. With the last 2 parameters, I thought I'd concentrate on the snare sounds themselves, and I've implemented with this parameter a simple high-pass filter. And that high-pass filter will affect all of the snares. If I just start turning up the value, as you'll hear, the bottom end has been removed by using this parameter. So that's a high-pass filter affecting all the snares. And then the very last parameter is also related to the snares, and it's snare pitch. So by default, the snares are all at their lowest pitch, but you can turn up the pitch. So that's it. It's quite a simple user oscillator, a collection of sounds and a few parameters that allow you to manipulate those sounds. Now, this project is one that I've been working on for a very long time, over a year on and off, I have to say. And the reason why it's taken me so long to get to this point is that the architecture of this synthesizer, the user oscillator architecture, is really very restrictive. I haven't been able to use any samples for those percussion sounds at all. I've had to create every single one of them from scratch myself using basic waveforms, white noise and envelope generators. So every single sound is individually programmed. Now it'll work with the Prologue, it'll work with the NTS-1 and of course with the XD here, but I've had the most fun with the XD due to its onboard sequencer. It's really a lot of fun, hands-on, immediate fun, putting together little drum patterns using the sequencer, even though it's quite a basic one. So that's what I thought I'd show you last of all with this video, just me mucking about, creating a sequence from scratch using the XD. So I really do hope you enjoy it. As always, thank you very, very much for watching.